Hello everyone, happy Tuesday. Today I missed Monday, so I'm here on Tuesday instead. Hope you've all had a fabulous weekend and were able to do something that was really pleasurable and enjoyable just for the sake of doing something fun. So popping on today to chat a little bit more about fear. The blog this week and the theme from last week is about fear, and today talking about how do we get over our fear, how do we perhaps minimize our fear in our life. So I think that a lot of us have been feeling a lot of fear lately. I know it's been something that I've been dancing with over the last few months, starting a new business and COVID and all of the restrictions and not knowing what the future might hold for us. And I know that a lot of other people have been in a similar situation as well. So today are a few things that the evidence suggests might be useful for helping us to minimise our fear. Tomorrow I'll have a little chat about some ways that we can harness our fear and use the power of the fear to drive change in our lives. And Friday I'll be back with a meditation around fear and helping implement some of those tips and tricks into your life. So how the hell do we get over our fear? I'm not sure that it's something that we actually ever get over. I think it's something that we need to find ways to manage in our lives and to embrace where we can, because it carries an energy with it like all of our emotions do. And if we can embrace that, then that might help fuel change in our lives that we really want but I think that we can help to minimize fear. So the impact of fear can be quite crippling if it's very powerful, if we're in a very threatening situation, if we allow it to build. So around COVID-19, a lot of people were talking about, how fearful they were about what the restrictions might mean or who might be impacted and how they might be impacted. So overthinking some of that stuff is not our friend. So in those sorts of circumstances, and they're the kinds of tips and tricks that I'll be talking about today, in those sorts of circumstances, it's really great for us to find ways to help manage our fear and to minimize it. So sometimes with things like this, the first thing that we do is go, is there a drug for that? Well, no, there isn't. They actually have tested drugs for this. One of the drugs that they tested, and I'll read this, is an antibiotic called D-cycloserine, which has been used to treat tuberculosis. Now, early studies with this particular drug suggested that it might have been useful if used in conjunction with behavioural therapies in minimising fear, but more recent studies have suggested that it actually isn't that useful at all. So that idea has been shelved. But there are a number of things that you can do, that are opportunities that you can adopt in your life to help manage fear just by you, not working with anyone. Of course, you can work with a coach or a counsellor or a support person as well. So I've broken the things that you can do down into 3 groups. Knowledge, building a really solid foundation, which I believe is essential for having a really healthy, well-balanced life in every way, and actions that you can take. So if we start with the knowledge, so what we do know from the evidence and what I believe also is that if we learn more about what we're afraid of, that can sometimes help take the sting out of our fear. Not relieve it completely, but just take some of that sting out of it so it's a bit less disempowering. So think about, maybe you're afraid of being single. Go and talk to some single people. Learn what their life is like. Learn the sorts of things that they do and how they socialise and how they get their support. Whatever it is you're afraid of missing by being single, talk to some people about that. If you're afraid of surgery, go and learn about your surgery. Do your research on the internet. Learn about what might be involved. Learn about the impact on your body. Learn about your recovery time. Talk to your surgeon. Talk to your anaesthetist. They're generally really helpful if you get a good one. And if you don't have one you can talk to, I would suggest you going and finding another one. So learning more is one option. The second option under knowledge is to minimise your exposure. So I really found at the start of the pandemic that we're still dancing our way through, that I was spending a lot of time immersing myself in COVID-19 this and COVID-19 that and COVID-19 something else. And that was really triggering me and triggering my fear. And it was really becoming annoying, shall we say. So I decided to really minimize my exposure. So I gave myself an allowance every day that for I can't even remember what it was now, 15 minutes or 30 minutes, however much time I thought I needed. I would learn more about COVID-19, about the situation, about what was happening around Australia and internationally. And then after that, I was done. No more COVID-19. That really helped. So finding what your trigger is for your fear and then minimizing your exposure to that fear, to that trigger. Sorry. Building a solid foundation. Now, as I said, I think this is essential for having a healthy, well-balanced life. I don't think you can live a good life without having a solid foundation. What it does in minimizing your fear is rather than working from a base that's here and then your fear can pile on top of that, you build your foundation up to here. So there's less room for the fear to pile on top. It gives you more strength, more solidity. Think of building a really solid foundation for a crane. It's an analogy I often use. If the foundation for the crane is not solid, if it's not firmly rooted in the earth, that crane's going to fall over. And fear can be one of those things that pushes that crane over. So some things you can do to build your foundation. Think about how you might handle a situation differently. If you're not afraid of what the outcome might be, if you're comfortable that an outcome of a situation that you're afraid of, perhaps there's something at work, perhaps you need to have a difficult conversation with your partner or a friend. If you're afraid of that, it's going to make it all the more difficult. But if you're able to step into a space of believing or pretending to believe even that you're able to work through that situation with grace and peace and calmness, and you're able to get a good resolution that works for both people involved or all people involved if there's more than two, then you might be able to think from a calmer place of how you can manage the situation. Now, I did a meditation on this last week, so if you want a little bit of guidance in talking through that process, pick up that meditation. You'll find it on Facebook and YouTube. Think about what you can do to make you feel more alive. What brings pleasure into your life? What helps you? I have a small furry friend here today who's helping me with Facebook Live. Say hello, Mitzi. Is Mitzi? Hello. He's lovely. He's come to stay with me for a few days. Think what makes you feel more alive. So for me, patting Mitzi makes me feel more alive. Going for a walk on the beach, spending time in nature, you know these things for you. These things are in your life. Try and find some time, schedule some time into your calendar to do these things. Meditation. Yes, meditation again. Meditation and mindfulness provide an amazing foundation for a solid, healthy, well-balanced life. Build some time in for meditation, and you can meditate specifically on your fears or resolution of your fears if that's useful to you. Otherwise, just general meditation. And building more self-compassion into your life is also really useful. So find ways that you're able to do that. Be gentle on yourself. If you're engaging in fearful thoughts, then for every fearful thought, take a moment to give yourself a self-compassionate thought as well, to be gentle on yourself. And the final group of things is action. So these are things you can really actually do, although learn more is about doing as well, but these are different sorts of action. So talk to someone, talk to your partner, talk to a friend, talk to a counsellor or a coach or a therapist or whoever you need to. Talk to a small furry friend if that's useful. And here this could include journaling as well. Name your fear to disempower it. So what I mean by this is many years ago I was mountain biking with my partner at the time, and he would stop for me and wait for me if there was an obstacle. Now, it was really lovely of him to do that. But what I found was as soon as I saw him stopped, internally I would go, oh my God, there's something really difficult coming up. Oh my God. And I would stuff up. So One day I actually said to him, every time I see you stopped for me, I know there's an obstacle coming and I get afraid. And what I found was he still stopped for me, so I was grateful for that. But because I'd named it, I wasn't afraid anymore. I'd put it out there, I'd got it out of my body. So try naming your fear, speaking it aloud, share it with somebody if that's useful to you. And minimize your risk. So a really good example of this is if you're afraid of falling, for instance, which a lot of people as they become older are afraid of falling, and it's a real fear and the implications can be quite profound. So if you're afraid of falling, what can you do to minimize your risk? Because if you're able to minimize your risk, then you also help to minimize your fear. So if you're afraid of falling, do activities that help build your balance and your core stability. Tai Chi, yoga, other activities like that. Even walking can be useful, balance activities, those kinds of things. So think of what you're afraid of, think of what the risk is that you have that links with your fear, and then find ways to minimize that risk. That's all I have for today. Like I said, tomorrow I'll be back with a little bit of a chat around ways that we can harness our fear, which will build on some of the fear minimization practices today. Have a great day and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.